Um, so in June of 2022, I was conducting a legal awareness session in a classroom that I was teaching in. So at the time, I was working in a low-income community government school in New Delhi, and the session was about the Domestic Violence Act and how to navigate the legal system. Now, the next day, 3 of my students individually came up to me asking for help. They said that their mothers were dealing with domestic violence at home, and now, since they knew how to navigate the system, they wanted to do something about it. Of course, I agreed to help, but I also wanted to understand more about the prevalence of domestic abuse in these low-income communities. So I started to do a little bit of research. Now, unfortunately, the National Health Surveys in India latest data states that 1 in 3 women experience domestic violence at some point in their lives. Out of this, 86% of them don't speak up at all. And out of the ones that do, 1 in 10 actually use formal complaint mechanisms and the law. So this actually really surprised me, given that in law school I had studied about this very comprehensive act in India called the Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act. And it's an extremely progressive act with provisions that talk about domestic violence as not just physical, but mental and emotional and a lot of other things as well. So I was wondering why such a well-drafted law is not being utilized. And when I saw national crime record data as well, I was stunned to realize that there were only 468 cases that were filed in 2022 in the entire country in that year. So, of course, I wanted to know why, and I started going into the community, interviewing women, speaking to them, and trying to figure out why they're not approaching the law. I went in with the presumption that, of course, it must be the patriarchal norms and the fear of being ostracized in society, and that's why women aren't speaking up. But I was very, very wrong. The main reason that outshone the rest was that there was lack of legal awareness. People didn't know what the law was, they didn't know what was illegal, and they didn't know how to approach courts. So this kind of made me realize that the problem is not just social, it's very structural as well. We have really good laws, and we have people who need them desperately, but there's a gap in the middle because there's a lack of awareness. So in order to deal with that, I brought together a few volunteers, and I started going into the community every day after school and running legal awareness camps for these women. The more and more women we engaged with, the more and more women came out asking for help. We also started running these programs in schools so that we could make students aware at an early stage. And all of this was obviously based on evidence of this having worked in other countries as well. So Spain actually has a very well-drafted law on domestic abuse, where preventative awareness is one of the first and foremost guiding principles of the law. So it mandates the schooling system as well and in communities to spread awareness about the law and how to navigate it. And after this law was enacted, it increased the rate of reporting, and also there was a cultural shift in viewing domestic abuse as a private matter to seeing it as something that can be spoken about publicly. So all of this is not just to say that if we include a mandatory preventative awareness clause in the Indian law, it's going to solve the problem, because it's not. There are many implementation challenges in the law. We have a lack of protection officers. We have shelter homes that are completely overcrowded, and there's sexual violence within those homes as well, which are meant for protection of women. So there are many other issues in implementation. But the first step is to actually make people aware of the law so that they can invoke it and put pressure on the legal system. So let's stop treating legal awareness as something that's optional, because it's not. It's necessary for protection. And as long as we don't have it, we can have really great laws, but they won't reach the people that need them the most. Thank you.